What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corie Murray. We're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about finance, and we're talking about business.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
In today's show, we have an entrepreneur, not just an entrepreneur. This brother's the District 5 councilman in the city of Riviera Beach, Florida. When we're talking about ownership, this brother has a mentorship. This brother has an initiative to mentor young Black men. We're talking about Bridge to Infinity. This brother's the owner of Lawson Solutions and Infinity Taxes and Beyond. When I say this brother is an entrepreneur, he helps families and individuals achieve the American dream. So without further ado, Councilman Lawson, welcome to Black Men Sundays, brother. How you doing?
Brother Corie, thank you so much for having me. Then I'm just appreciative because I've just followed you. I've watched some of your podcasts, and I'm just honored to be able to sit with you, talk to you, and talk about some of the most important things in my community and communities across this country: mental health, financial wealth, equity, just developing and networking and building a relationship within our community together to uplift one another. So, King, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Oh, definitely. And, I wouldn't be doing my family justice without saying this brother went to Suncoast Community High School.
Yes,
this
sir.
brother got his undergrad and his master's from UCF here in Orlando. So without further ado, man, I got to get right to it. How has Lawson Solutions helped families with home ownership?
We started years ago. Actually, when I first graduated, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My father anyway. My father is of Jamaican descent. He had multiple businesses and was establishing himself as an entrepreneur with the American dream. Immigrants, first generation, moved here from Jamaica. So we're first generation born here in the States, Bronx, New York, and moved to Florida when we were very young. So we had an opportunity to see what business development, what financial literacy, and what multiple streams of income look like. And we also saw what it's like to lose it all without having that stability and security, and also that safety net to help fall back on. My mother, she worked for the same company for 20 years. So understanding that the consistency, dedication, and loyalty to a corporation, but then also being a dreamer, I was able to kind of mold the two and be able to bring those together to establish what I've done now, which is Lawson Solutions, Infinity Taxes and Beyond, and build a network of financial literacy and education, teaching about building wealth, equity within our community, using multiple streams of income, using investing, starting with real estate. I got that back in 2002. Before I even graduated from college, my father was like, get your real estate license, learn about real estate. That is the only thing that's going to be sustainable in this country, is going to be real estate and investing. So I did it, and 20 years later, I'm still investing with real estate and showing people how to do it themselves.
So can we establish generational wealth without real estate?
It's possible, not probable, because if you look at 7 of the top 10 billionaires in this country, they all established it through real estate, some type of real estate investing. Ownership takes investing, and it takes some type of longevity. Every type of millionaire, billionaire, and anyone that's had wealth has owned land, because money comes and goes. It's the fact that the only thing we're not making more of is land. So if you actually can hold a piece of that here in the States, anywhere in this country, or anywhere in this world, there's no more that's being created in the world. So it's the only type of resource, only type of equity, only type of asset that we can literally invest into that's not going to go anywhere, because you can go up and down. The market will crash every 7 to 10 years. So, with real estate, it gives you an opportunity to hold on to something and still be able to sustain while you pay the debt off that's on it.
Got you. Now, because a lot of brothers say, listen, man, real estate sounded good 5 years ago.
Yep.
Bonds sounded good 15 years ago, but everyone's saying bonds are played out. But I had an accountant come on and say, nah, bonds are coming back. I've also had real estate agents say, I know it's 7 to 8% right now, but it's better than renting. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, what are your thoughts on those comments?
Touching on those bonds first, the bonds are coming back because the Fed increased the rate twice in the last 6 months. So with those interest rates going up, with the investing going up, the bonds and the savings is going to actually continue to increase. You're going to be able to secure your funds at a higher interest rate because the Fed is trying to stabilize its economy. In regards to real estate, it's still going to be better positioned because rental market is crazy right now. You're talking about 1-2 bedrooms in Palm Beach County going for over $2,000 a month. So if you have something that has principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and you're paying down that PI, principal and interest, on your property, whether it's you in that property, your renters, your roommate, or your continued passing it down to your kids and grandkids. You're going to pay that debt off eventually to where you're only paying taxes on that property. So eventually that property will turn a profit for you if you invest into it. So real estate absolutely is still going to be the best time to purchase. It's just an inflated market, especially in Florida. South Florida, a lot of families from all over the country, whether it's New York or the Midwest, have chosen Florida to come to because of no sales tax and because of the weather. So they're all still moving here, but across this country, you're seeing that stabilization and also that dip in the real estate market. We still probably have another 6 months to a year before we see that dip. But every 7 years since the Great Recession, this market has corrected itself, and it will again.
I was reading an article on you. It said you obtained wealth, but you lost it all. Can you break that down for us and explain that?
Yes, sir. 2008. I'll never forget this American greed gentleman, Bernie Madoff, David Olin. I invested into 2 Ponzi schemes, one in Jamaica and one here in the country. $1.3 million of funds that were invested my personal dollars after the market started to go crazy. Commissions were paying out 15-20% on condo conversions in Orlando. The market all over Florida, I was doing great numbers that couple years from 06 to 08. And I saw that not having that background or experience to say, okay, that good mentor really to say, listen, you need to diversify your income. You need to not put all your eggs in one basket. It cost for me to put it into a Ponzi scheme that was promising, 15-20% monthly compounding, not understanding and realizing that this Ponzi scheme had been in play for 30 years and thinking that it was okay. But when you add a Ponzi scheme with a Great Recession of 2009, 2010, it's not going to continue to sustain. So they're not going to continue to bring in capital. So I lost it all. I was down to my last couple dollars. My best friend was actually paying my cell phone bill for a few months because I got into a position to where I could not even afford anything. I lost all my properties except for the one that I still have in Orlando to this day, just to commemorate what I went through. But out of the 14 properties, I short sold and foreclosed 13 of them. So it was a tough time and it was experience, but that actually made me stronger to be able to recoup and build it back.
Gotcha. And what advice would you have for the brothers that are saying, listen, I've been renting my whole life. I'm comfortable renting. I want to buy a house, but the fear sets in. We've had a brother that owns a brewery talked about fear. So from your point of view, how does fear interrupt the establishment of generational wealth in the Black community?
Great question. That's where we started off. We started off in the fear of investing, of building, of networking. It's finding a good mentor to give you direction and guidance first and foremost, building your credit, building your portfolio, putting yourself in a position not only to invest in yourself, but invest into your family. This is not just about you. This is about your kids, your grandkids, and your great grandkids. We're 1-2 generations out of slavery, so we don't understand generational wealth. We don't understand that concept of saying, let's leave something for the ones that's coming after us. So thankfully, I had parents that came over here from Jamaica who said, I'm going to invest into my kids. I'm going to give everything to them. We have to have that same mindset and lose that concept of fear and say, we're going to invest into ourselves, into our family, and into the family that's going to come. And that's doing it through a network. That's doing it with credits. That's doing it with financial literacy. That's doing it with business development. You can even use your 9 to 5 and just still be able to invest into yourself. Taking that first 10% off top, a lot of us are tithing within the church. Take that first 10% to invest into yourself and your family. Take the next 10% to invest into your church. But if you are not able to take care of yourself, you can take care of nobody else. So if you keep pouring out of your cup's going to be empty.
You're the District 5 seat councilman of the city of Riviera Beach, Florida.
Yes,
what are you doing in that community, that local community, to get out of the poverty stricken, to get brothers more into entrepreneurship and business ownership and home ownership?
When I first moved back, I moved back to Palm Beach because my mother was actually sick. She's a 2-time survivor of breast cancer. I came back and I said I was never coming back to Palm Beach. I lived in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, DC, Cali for a few years. And when I came back, it was because I wanted to take care of her. But when I came, I saw that there was a need in our community, the one that I went to high school, middle school in, and saw that we had to invest into it. So I invested and put my business right in the heart of my city, on the corner of Blue Heron Broadway, just before you go over the Singer Island Bridge, you can see the equal divide when you have a barrier island and one of the lowest median incomes in Palm Beach County and Riviera Beach. So you have the same city in 8 square miles that is one of the wealthiest communities in Palm Beach County, but also the poorest. So I said, let's make sure that we invest into the residents, teaching them about credit, teaching them about utilizing their tax returns to not be taken advantage of. Every year, as soon as January 1 hits, people were trying to get those tax returns to just buy non-appreciating assets to make sure that they got a quick return. And then you had organizations that were taking advantage of them by charging them astronomical fees. So I said, let me open up Infinity Taxes and Beyond and Lawson Solutions so I could teach them about properly filing taxes, about using the returns to invest into themselves, whether it's going to be stocks, bonds, or real estate, and then also providing them with the opportunity to establish business development, financial literacy. So those multiple streams is what we actually tried to teach. And that's why I set it up shop right in Riviera Beach. Then I said, let me go a little further because my client base grew from 120 clients to now we're over 1,250 clients across 3 states. I said, let me go ahead and I was given the blessed opportunity to take care of this. Let me go a little further and see if I can assist the community with serving as a servant leader. 2008, I worked on President Barack Obama's campaign. That's when I learned a little bit more about governance and said I could actually be involved on a local level. I truly believe that sometimes everybody thinks about state and federal government, but they don't see how local level impacts them on a day-to-day basis. I can go into a council meeting, stroke a pen, and change people's lives tomorrow, where federal policy and legislation takes years to actually pass down and impact communities. So if we got more involved, I would be able to touch more families. And now I'm able to assist and help and provide legislation for about 38,000 residents of Riviera Beach.
Let's talk about Bridge to Infinity, because I understand it is an initiative that mentors young Black men. Where did the idea come from, and just how was that set up?
Realizing that a lot of the kids from my community weren't given the opportunity, whether it's financially or educational system, to go off to college. Teaching them about other options, whether it's going to be a trade, whether it's going to be entrepreneurship, whether it's going to be business, whether it's investing into themselves. We don't just have to get out of the community based upon, having a good jump shot, playing football, basketball, but we can actually invest, whether it's going to be real estate, whether it's going to be an auto body shop, whether it's going to be an accountant. You have the opportunity to get some of these licenses that don't require a 4-year degree. So those were the things that we wanted to teach them, that we're not trying to take away from the opportunity of going off to an institution. But if you're not given that opportunity, or if you don't go there, you have other abilities. So from the age of 12 to 17, we teach kids about credit. We teach kids about banking, finance. We open up a bank account for them. We open up their first business. So we put them in a position where we put a custom suit on them. I work with my state rep, Javante Edmonds, with Suits for Seniors. Every graduate gets a custom suit to take them into the real world and show them that you can be successful. And it doesn't just have to be one way. You can look at multiple ways. Most of the kids that come in day one, their first thing is, hey, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a football player. I want to be a millionaire. But how do we get you there? And then if it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, if something happens, if you're hurt or injured, what is your plan B? What's going to be your backup plan? So put everything into that plan A, but also have a plan B, C, and D to make sure that you can really be successful and invest in yourself. Education is so important, but you also have to have something that's going to be able to take that education to the next level.
What are we going to see in your portfolio?
I sampled, I'll start with the day trading. I started to play with day trading, crypto, and I decided to play the long game instead of the short game because it takes a certain bit of effort and energy to really focus on that day trading. Whether you're going to have a trader that's doing it, you're doing it yourself. And I had so many things going on in my life that I didn't have the ability to focus all that attention. So I do some long-term stocks, investing into stocks and bonds, just for the ability to say 3, 5, 10 years later, I just don't look at them. I try not to look at the numbers going up and down because they're always going up and down. I remember when I got so excited because Tesla went through the roof, and now it started to bottom out recently in the last 6 months. And at that time, I wanted to cash some of the dollars out and invest it somewhere else. But I said the stocks, bonds, I'm just going to leave that and let that just bubble for longevity. I have 4 different companies that I actually am the CEO of, 100% owner of Infinity Taxes and Beyond, Lawson Solutions, 50% of Bamboo. It's an event space in Lake Worth, and Divine Restaurant and Wine. And My wife actually owns a wine company that we're partnering with, Wine by Jade. It's one of the only Black-owned wine companies in the Southeast region, and there's only 1% of Black women in the wine industry as a whole. So we've established that within the last year. We just had our 1-year anniversary. So those are just a few of the companies and businesses that I invest into. In addition to the stocks, real estate. I said that back in 2010, I short sold and foreclosed almost all of my properties. I kept one that I still have right next to UCF that I bought right when I graduated. That was like my frat house. And right when I graduated, that was the house I said I'm going to keep regardless. I'm going to do everything I can to keep that property. Because when I level back up and get to the position of being able to believe in myself, I need something that where I came from and know where I came from. So I actually have some friends and family that are renting and living in that property that went to University of Central Florida and real estate. I have a strong portfolio of about 9 properties that I own, 13 vacant lots I'm going to be building, and buying and flipping is some of the things that I try to do right now, flipping real estate. So I either rehab or build from the ground up. With my father, he has a GC company, so I use his construction firm to come in and renovate the properties I own.
Okay, so I mean, so you're using your father's company, so that means you're basically getting it built at cost, right?
I mean,
Nice.
we got to make sure I take care of Pops too now.
Yeah,
He's
no, I
trying to-
got you, but
He's
it's
trying
not
to retire
compared to.
soon, so if I was going anywhere else, I'd have to pay them. So I pay something for it to make sure it's covered because he's putting time and effort into it. Even though we have the staff that takes care of it, I want to make sure he's taken care of. So any profits, we normally split that down as a family investment.
So what financial tips would you give the brother that says, hey, I have a little money to spend, but I don't know what to do with it? And then what do you say to the brother that says, listen, I have a few kids. When I get paid, my whole check is spent. There's no way I can invest in anything. How can these brothers get ahead in life?
I'll start with the ones with the kids. There's always an opportunity to cut back on whatever expenditures you're having, not even realizing some of the dollars that are going out, whether it's eating out, whether it's just going out, especially single brothers. When I was single, dating, I was spending so much money on just dating alone. So it's understanding that you're spending so much money. And one of my biggest investments I could say is marrying my wife 1.5 years ago, and understanding that the person that you have as your partner is your biggest and best investment, because that person is going to stop you from spending all that additional frivolous money, is going to allow for you to be that mate, that helpmate, that partner, that individual that's going to keep you grounded and put you in a better position, as long as it's the right one. It's the right wife, it's the right mate, it's the right husband or wife to be a partner and invest with. So that was my biggest investment, because I've had ups and downs, I've had great runs, I've had lots of money, but looking back now, just that investment. So trying to find that mate, and even if it's not in your cards right now, to where finding that individual, realizing where your spending is going, whether it's dating, whether it's additional frivolous eating out, and then just cut back. Look at an itemized budget. Look at what you spend and what you bring in every month, and realize where those dollars are going in. Because some people, when they get their check, it's all gone, it's all spent, but they have to make sure that they're investing. And then another way to utilize that is credit and other people's money. They've always said use other people's money to invest and to be able to buy. When I say other people's money, I don't mean just your partner, your homeboy. I mean, you can use creditors to invest into property real estate. There's a program for first-time homebuyers investors that require either 3% or even 0% down. In my city, we just approved $50,000 for first-time homebuyers and $100,000 from the county. So it's $150,000 to go towards a house. So your mortgage right now, if you find a property at $300,000, would only be based on $150,000, which in Palm Beach County, rents for 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms are over $2,000. If you got those first-time homebuyer SHIP programs and the Riviera Beach grant, your mortgage would probably be anywhere between $800 and $900. You can't get that anywhere, and that's not HUD housing. That's not affordable housing. That is just the working class individual. So working with your local government, working with the opportunities and networks to invest into yourself, because property, like I said, real estate, that was my go-to. 20 years later, that's my number one source of income. And I really believe you can invest into yourself by looking at property, cutting back on your debts and your expenses, and finding that right mate to be that uplift and that building and that support for you to keep growing, because that's where a lot of our money goes on a day-to-day basis.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're basically saying that marriage is an investment as well. Am I hearing you correctly?
Oh, Corie, you know that. I'm telling you, that was the number one investment in your life, because it really is something that I was single for a long time. Dating, I actually, we have a 12-year-old that I had from a previous relationship. I love the mother of my child, and I love everything I've been through, my experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. But now I see just the money comes and goes, relationships come and go. But I have some of the most stable people in my life and friendships that I've had for 20 years. My wife is one of those people that has really just kind of uplifted me to the next level. She's given me an opportunity to kind of see clear where, you fight, you argue, you go through the certain things in relationships, but you find the right mate, you're going to be in a better position because you've invested into yourself and your family. And if it's the right person now, it'll be the best thing for you.
On Black Men Sundays, the previous show, we had a mental health, a licensed clinical social
Yep.
worker, aka a mental health professional. And I feel like in our Black community, we don't discuss mental health at all. We kind of compartmentalize it, just,
Mhm.
hey man, toughen up, man, shake it off. But
Mhm.
from your point of view, and I know you're not licensed, but I just want to get from your point of view, how can mental health block brothers from achieving wealth and generational wealth from your point of view?
It's crazy. I owned a treatment center for 7 years, a substance abuse mental health treatment center. Right before I ran for office, I was the owner of a Better Solutions. And that company showed me where there is a racial divide when it comes to mental health. It showed me how there is underutilized resources where you'll have these kids, whether they have good insurance or family is pushing them into these treatment centers, or even just therapists that want to help. And us, we grow up. When I was growing up, it was, what are you crying for? Go sleep it off, go pray it off. You don't need to speak to no therapist. That's what we heard when I was growing up. So we didn't think that mental health and mental health therapists were vital or necessary. Go talk to your pastor, go talk to them. But a counselor gave me an opportunity. I have a counselor. I have a mental health therapist that I work with. Really dope dude that lives in, he actually moved to Atlanta recently, but he was in Broward for a long time, Broward, Florida. And he gave me a lot of clarity in regards to communication, in regards to understanding my relationships, understanding myself, because the trauma that we've experienced growing up as young Black men myself, growing up in the community where I came from, we didn't have the ability and the resources that were allotted to a lot of the other cultures that I was around at the time. So I got an opportunity to really explore myself, understand what experiences I had, and break those generational chains and curses that we had experienced growing up. My father was a Jamaican playboy. I didn't realize till I got to college that that him and mom weren't as happy as I thought they were. But then my brother had to go through high school and through some of his adolescence, realizing some of the traumas that he was experiencing. So now relationships are harder for him because he saw them differently than I did. I thought it was the perfect, kumbaya household where he saw a broken home. So even those things, those traumas we experience, we have to understand them and we have to understand how to deal with them moving forward so that we can be better men for ourselves or better women for ourselves and for our family. So a therapist was something that was vital for me, and it helped me just get over the hump as well.
What's your definition of the American dream? And do you believe that the majority of Black people think the American dream is the upper middle class where you have a nice house, you're making 75 plus income, you have a Benz, you got nice cars, you riding good, you have a couple properties? What
Mm.
is the true definition of the American dream if you're a Black man or a Black woman?
The true definition of the American dream, me growing up, was to not be in the streets at the age of 15, 16. The American dream was to not be killed, shot, or dead like some of my friends that I grew up with. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. Palm Beach County was it was a lifestyle that you really had to come from. My father spent some years in penitentiary during my adolescent years, about 4 years when I was a kid. So it put me in a position where they came to this country chasing the American dream. I grew up trying to follow and chase after what was idolized as the American dream, but it's different for every individual. As a Black man, it can be just trying to make it. It can be trying to not be beat, battered, or bruised by the women in your life, the law enforcement, the community. It's the traumas that we've experienced. So financially, you're chasing a dollar, but it's really the American dream is what mentally is going to stabilize and make you the happiest, because that's the real just Black man dream. What can make you happy? What can stabilize you and give you peace? Because money, financial wealth, equity, that's good for you. That's fine and dandy. But if you don't know what to do with it, and your mind is not in the right position, then it doesn't matter how much money you have. Back in 2008, 9, and 10, when the market was crashing, lots of people that had the American dream were jumping out of windows, 40-story windows, because they lost all this financial equity, but they didn't have peace within their heart and their mind. So me personally, I found the American dream when I was able to stabilize my household, build an amazing relationship with my daughter, find my beautiful wife, and be able to continue to teach literacy to the community, teach servant leadership as an elected official. And I'm continuing to build this American dream for myself because it's in what your mind has. It's in your personal heart and what you believe in.
What's your advice for the brothers that have kids where the kids are saying, listen, Dad, we want to play football. We want to play 2K on our PS5s. We're not really interested in that. How can you get the children motivated to, because they're the next generation. So how do you get them started achieving generational wealth from a young age?
So wants and needs are so important. These kids may want to do certain things, but they need to learn it. You as a parent, find creative ways to instill it in them, because if you push too hard, it'll push them away. But if you make it fun, if you make it interesting, I bring my daughter with me everywhere with all my businesses, my investments. She hates going to meetings, but she loves looking at her bank statement or bank account or her green light card. My daughter has a 796 credit score at the age of 12. I added her onto one of my credit cards at the age of 8. She has probably about 300,000 travel miles because she's been traveling from Georgia to Florida, on Southwest and JetBlue. So I made sure that she built that. So when she turns 18 or 21, she's going to have an amazing credit score. She's going to have travel miles on either airline, so where she can travel the world. And I take her everywhere that we go. So we just came back from Aruba during the holidays because I want her to be able to explore and see the world. Even if you don't have the ability or financial means to take them somewhere, where they get to see experiences, make sure you take them somewhere. Even if you just take them out to the zoo, the park, and teach them about certain things, that teaches them about life. That teaches them about life lessons. And then the investing. Teach them about your shortcomings. Teach them about your losses. My daughter knows about how I lost all my money, and I had to ask Uncle Marlon to borrow cell phone money because I could not even pay my cell phone at a time when I lost so much money in an investment that I didn't have a mentor to teach me not to put all my eggs in one basket. So I tell her about these things because she has the ability and resources where that iPhone that she has that she loves to be on, I say, listen, you spend all that time on TikTok and all these games that you're playing, use some of that time to make sure that you're looking at the stocks that you have. Go on your green line. Tell me how much your bank account has. Tell me a breakdown of what you spent last week, how you went to the Amazon store and you went to the gas station, you went all here. Why'd you spend so much on that when you have food at the house? So it's just making it fun, interesting, and making it a game for them and investing into them. Because if you invest into them at a young age, they will turn out to be amazing, successful young men and women.
At what point did you say, hey, I want to teach financial and tax literacy? At what point did that just click and say, okay, I'm going to do this, and why?
So when the market crashed in 08, 09, to the real estate market, for years, I was actually just doing people's taxes. I was doing my own taxes for a number of years. And then individuals were coming with me because I was a mortgage broker, real estate broker, trying to buy a house because the market was super low. It was ability, but somebody had wrote off all their income. They made 50,000, 60,000, but then they wrote it off with deductions, small business write-offs, and their adjusted gross income, or AGI, was only 15, 20,000. So they came in and I said, well, you can't qualify for a home, even though you made all this money, because either you or your accountant wrote it off. So I had to show them the proper way of using standardized deductions to write off certain debts so that it wouldn't attach their adjusted gross income, and the bank would still qualify them based on their gross income. I showed them about investing into businesses. I showed them about going back to school and the credits they get so that they wouldn't owe so much money. There were so many different tax breaks and tax codes. Using some of them dollars, opening up a nonprofit organization and paying your child or paying your coworker as your employee for your nonprofit, having them work as your nonprofit and paying them a salary. You can write off up to $12,000 annually just for your dependent being an employee of your nonprofit. So there's so many deductions and tax breaks that the wealthy have used. Use that opportunity. And I learned that back when the market crashed, because I had to find another stream to invest back into. And because a lot of people were coming to me trying to buy real estate and they couldn't qualify for real estate, I started doing other people's taxes. They called me and said, Doug, can you do this? Can you do this? And for 6 months to a year, I was just doing taxes for free. Till a buddy of mine said, I charge $400 or $500 per return. I said, oh, I've been just doing it all for chicken dinner. Thank you. I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and work with you. So then I started to realize that I can charge to do the same service I was doing, because people were either going into H&R Block or Hewlett Jackson or one of these tax firms, and they weren't getting a portion of the knowledge that I was giving them, because they would just go in and do data entry. Bring your W-2s, bring your tax papers. Let me enter it for you. All right, it's $150. Where I was giving them some more information, literacy, and actually bringing them on as clients and creating multiple streams for myself and my business. Because when they came in, if somebody trusts you with their social security, their children's social security, their date of birth, and all their information, they're going to trust you with investing, whether it's real estate, whether it's credit repair, whether it's business development. So that one client would then become 4 streams for me, and I could teach them the right way of how to do it.
I like how you mentioned the streams of income. We had a millionaire on here a couple weeks ago. He said he had 7 streams of
7
income.
streams. I saw that show, man. I love that one. That one just kind of gave me some motivation.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, man, to be financially free, how many streams of income do you feel like brothers need?
Every book, every investment I've seen is 7 streams, because that fills up enough pots. That fills up all the debts that you have, because if one starts to dry up, you still have 6 more to lean on. Realistically, I've stabilized probably 4 to 5, 4.5 streams to be able to build enough equity for myself as just self-sustaining businesses. If I didn't do one tax return, I would still be able to generate decent equity and decent revenue annually for my tax business, because I've trained over 36 agents to work for me. And we teach them about providing that tax service, tax preparation. And then once that client's sitting in front of you, teach them about credit. And then after that, once they fix their credit, teach them about investing using real estate. So all my agents, I try to get them certified as tax preparers, as credit repair, credit restoration, as real estate brokers, and possible mortgage brokers. So those 4 streams are just kind of my base 4. I have my event space and a restaurant space that's doing very well. And that's kind of residual income. Don't have to manage it as much. So that's what I said about 4.5 solid streams. But I do believe that you can plug up all those gaps and all those holes that come in with the debts and expenses if you have 7 stable ones. And this was amazing. I want you to keep pushing it. I want to refer everybody over here just to sit down with you, Corie, because if we don't really focus on being intentional about motivating and uplifting Black men, Black women, and our community, no one else is going to do it.
Exactly, man. And the thing I always tell people is, if you don't do it, no one's going to do it. The generations before you didn't do it. So if you don't plant the seed, the generation after you is going to have more of a struggle than what we've had to go through. And that's my whole perspective on that. So I'd like to thank you, Douglas Lawson, for coming on Black Men Sundays, District 5 Councilman in the city of Riviera Beach, Florida. My family down there, they call it Raw Vera. So, I had to drop that in real quick. So thanks for coming on Black Men Sundays, brother. I appreciate you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Corie, thank you for having me, man. We down here in the Raw and enjoying it, and we're going to continue to push and support one another. So I will see you soon, and thank you for having me on this great Sunday.
It's a Black Man Sunday.